Let's reconvene this meeting. Todd, you got time to come down? Yeah, what else have we got?
Pick up payment sheets 10.4.
Okay, let's look at 10.4, Councillor payment sheets, right? The adjustments are presented there. We need a motion of acceptance of the Councillor payment sheets, or if there's questions. Holly?
I make a motion to accept the councillor payment sheets.
Okay, any questions or concerns? All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Oh, you had a question? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just if we could really work hard on trying to put the same memo in, it would be really helpful. Instead of following numbers all over the place, if you're at RMA, just say RMA. If everybody says RMA, it'll be nice and easy to follow. I know it's tough because everybody goes to different things, but let's try to stay on the same page. It'd be a lot easier for us. Thank you.
You mean with regard to time and that kind of thing?
When you put on your time sheet, yeah. So instead of... Woo!
What happened?
I only threw coffee on my computer. It's all good. It's not.
Okay.
It's not frying yet.
Are you stressed?
No, I've been drinking too much coffee.
Todd, you're
Too much
welcome back.
chocolate.
No coffee.
Yeah.
Just, it's the caffeine.
There's no steam coming out of it.
No, we're good. We're good. All right, that's all good. Holy moly! Look at the service level here. All I got to do is throw coffee around, and everyone's standing on me. All right. Right there, dude. Okay. I'm talking about when you put your timesheet in on the bottom where there's the memo describing what you did. If keep that very brief, and if 3 of you went to joint services, 3 of you put joint services, and then it'll all come up nice and neat and tidy in the spreadsheet for joint services. Or if we all go to a conference, say RMA, let's all just put RMA, and then it'll all show up nice and easy. The memos, I think, are more for if there's something odd. For instance, 3 people went to joint services. 2 of them were there for an hour and a half, another one was there for 2 hours. A memo explaining joint services and an explanation of why you were there late, that'd be great. But otherwise, yeah, make it a little easier for us would be appreciated.
Okay. Let's move back to Ag Service, or Director of Ag Services, Mr. Green.
I was actually really enjoying Dan's presentation.
Oh.
It's very well done. You should see Matt's comments on my timesheet. Nope. All right, sorry. We are almost done. I promise the resolution discussion. We ended off on number 8, so consideration of municipal environmental agriculture policy for large scale solar. We talked about it, kind of leaning towards, yeah, it makes sense to support. If there's no more comments, we'll try and find number 9. Seems fair? Just the conversations.
Like just a little bit of grass seed, that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm you guys are tired of hearing me say it, but we need this solar.
You might be right, sir. You might be right.
Listen today.
You could be producing a little more for inside this council chambers, that I know.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, resolution number 9 is synthetic fertilizer emissions. So the ask is that the government of Canada adopt a 4R climate smart protocol approach developed by the Fertilizer Institute. I think there's a lot going on when it comes to the emissions reduction protocol that the federal government is trying to implement, and I'm using the most political words I can come up with. So I think steering them in a direction that makes sense for our agricultural community would be good, because I don't believe until we have a government change that the reduction is going to be kibosh. So I think this one makes sense, even if we don't agree. All right, you guys are making this easy. All right. Number 10. Organic production certification standards and provincially regulated weeds. The interesting thing about organic crop production is it doesn't actually take away any of your obligation to maintain your land in a reasonable way. So if you're an organic producer and you need to take care of, let's say, in our municipality, scentless chamomile, you can't stand behind, well, I'm organic, I don't have to take care of that. You actually do. You just have to take care of it in a way that meets your standards. So whether that's hand pulling, whether that's, I don't know, weed whipping, whatever the case may be, if it's not chemical, that's fine, as long as we've taken care of those weeds. So this was an interesting ask when I was going through it from the County of Grand Prairie. And I assume they've maybe butted heads with a few organic producers, and this was a way to kind of, you know, add some more teeth beyond the Weed Control Act. But I think the Weed Control Act is viable no matter whether you're conventional or organic. It's just taking care of weeds, right? It's in its simplest form. But anyways, maybe this will be, we'll have to hear about this one. I don't see any problems with supporting it, but it's, to me, just probably not needed. But in my upstairs opinion. No comments or questions? We should have lasagna more often.
I'll ask a question on that one. What are they suggesting we do? Add another layer of regulation to allow us to enforce our Weed Act, or what exactly do they want to do there?
Yeah, it's, I wouldn't say it's adding any more legislation, but it's adding some wording in current legislation that would, well, I mean, it's a requirement that Canadian organic standards that requires organic grower be compliant with provincial legislation. So when you read if you ever get a chance to read the background information, it does outline that maybe the organic producers that they were dealing with were kind of falling back on, well, we're federally regulated, but your land falls provincially and it falls municipally. And those are the rules as they come down. So what the Grand Prairie is asking for here is that, yeah, that level be added to federal legislation, that weed control level.
Much a clarification as anything. Eh?
Pardon me?
Almost a clarification.
Exactly, yeah. And just so you know, like, big players have played this game before too. CP Rail has played it, CN Rail. They're federally regulated, they say, so they don't have to follow provincial rules. And Ag Service Boards have gone to legal, and we've determined that is actually a lie, like Dr. Phil or whatever, Maury Povich, that's a lie. That's right. So anyways, it's just a way to try to get out of it, but they're not getting out of it. Resolution number 11, I don't think we could ever not support the strychnine resolution for ourselves and every municipality in the South for sure. I mean, this one comes from all the way up in the county of St. Paul, which I didn't realize that they had a big Richardson ground squirrel population up there, but they do. So I think we should, from my office, we should support this all day long.
I agree.
All right. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Lynette, please.
Why did they remove it in the first place?
PMRA. So PMRA and Health Canada did a reevaluation on strychnine many years ago, and it's been determined that the health risks and the secondary poisoning risks are at a non-tolerable risk. So they removed ground squirrels from the label, which is the only reason we use strychnine as farmers and Ag Service Board. Strychnine has other other uses at different potencies. But for us, the 2% liquid strychnine no longer has Richardson ground squirrels on the label because it has unacceptable risks.
And the biggest thing they say is too many birds are dying because they eat poison gophers. But if you put the gophers back down the hole like you're supposed to, the birds can't get them. So.
Yeah, the secondary poisonings are the biggest driving factor, I think, for they say for endangered species.
But if they take out coyotes, that's okay.
No, it's secondary poisoning if that's not why you're going out there. But yeah, there's other things that use holes as well. You know, burrowing owls use holes. They're endangered. So if they came across some strychnine and they died, that would be negative. But yeah, lots of songbirds, lots of mice. Those things are also dying downhole if we use products similar to strychnine or strychnine. And that is viewed as an unacceptable risk by PMRA and Health Canada in Ottawa. That's all I'm going to say about that. All right, and then, sorry, the last one is brought to us by Wheatland County. We deliberated this last time when we went to the South Region Ag Service Board Conference, the review of the Land and Property Rights Tribunal. And I think we had good discussion, and I think we even may have changed our mind when we went to the Blairmore, because I think we sort of semi-quasi supported it when we were in this room, and then when we got there, we kind of heard, and we weren't sure if it was as valuable as we thought, but it's passed and it's going up to Grand Prairie for more discussion. So we're like a yay with a shade of nay.
Yeah. What are we after on this one, Todd? Like, just explain the background to it.
Yeah, this one was discussing, so when oil and gas industry wants to negotiate land surface payments or surface lease payments, my understanding is that both sides have to negotiate their own and both sides have to pay for representation. And because these typically start with the oil field, I guess, taking it to negotiation. The idea is to have the oil field pay for that, both sides of negotiating.
Have we ever had a problem? Like when there are thousands of agreements in the county of Newell with oil companies, EID wise? I don't know what they're getting at here.
They've had some problems.
I can speak to it. I think for us personally, we haven't had that many problems because we're mostly Torxon, but there's been some issues with CNRL and some of the smaller companies. CNRL has actually been a major push in this area, as Husky Energy was as well. So certain areas have more problems than others, but the Land Rights Tribunal, the feeling is they haven't been as fair to landowners currently as they've been in the past. So they want to just make sure that it's a fair playing field for everybody. I think it's a lot of the reason they're trying to look at this.
I really don't like the idea of the oil company having to pay both sides of like the solar guys are already doing that. That's a pretty sweet deal for the farmer. And,
It's actually fairly typical in gas and oil. Like if we want to hire someone to help us negotiate, Torxon always picks up the bill. That's fairly typical. Their dealings, they pay that. Yeah.
you ask for it.
So it sounds like, again, the County of Newell is the best place to, yeah. We have the best industry, we have the best landowners. Best.
See you guys, thanks for coming in. Yeah.
So that's all I had for you guys today.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, we have a motion, yes. So there's only two councillors that have not committed to come to Grand Prairie. So that's Mrs. Kopp and Mrs. Chrisman. Sorry, Chrisman. So we just need a motion for two others to raise the clicker up when it's their turn.
Holly? What do you, sorry, I missed the,
I volunteer to be one of the designated voters if you're looking for that.
I will be the other designated voter.
okay. Ian's bringing a motion for Holly and Amanda to be the designated voters for the county of Newell. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Thanks. Todd? Let's move to item number 11.1, tender award for bridge file. Jeff Tiffin, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad Todd got the chance to warm you up after lunch. In front of you, there's an RFD for a tender award for the replacement of bridge file 71627. Bridge file 71627 has been on our long-term plan for replacement. Has been noted in inspections to have some major section loss and deformation in the pipe, and while it's not an immediate threat, it is definitely that time to get it replaced. We did make application through the STIP program to fund the replacement of this bridge file. The replacement of this bridge file came back as declined through the STIP program based on the amount of applications, the structural rating of all of the applications in their queue, so on and so forth. So we were not successful in receiving provincial funding for this replacement. The tender did come in slightly over budget, I think about $30,000. So I'm here asking council to award this tender to East Butte Contracting Limited for their tendered amount and for that additional spending to be funded from the infrastructure fund. And I can answer any questions.
Where is that bridge exactly? Roughly?
This bridge is on Old Highway 1, just west of the village of Tilly.
Okay. Any other questions? Kelly, please.
Wondering if we had any other bids, just the one?
No, there was a total of 7 submissions on this bridge file. The next closest bidder was about 30,000 above the lowest bidder, and the highest bidder on this file was 698,000.
You? Any other questions? Ready for the question? Somebody want to make a motion? Kelly?
I'll move as recommended to accept the bid as recommended.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Jeff? Oh, yeah, sorry, back to 10.5, we missed functions of acceptance, or pardon me, requests for functions of council. Are there any? Go ahead, Kelly.
Just a thought, our January 26th meeting with Alberta Health Services, the question came, Amanda, would you like to pose it here?
I know we're going to be meeting with them on the 26th, and the steering committee with the Pisano project, they're wondering if they will be invited to come to that meeting as well. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, because I did get an email and they wanted some follow-up on the Pisano project.
Okay, sorry. So I've misspoke. The town of Bassano is joint invited to that. We could also extend it to Sasha and Cole to rope them in as well.
All
I'll
right.
make note of it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Holly? Oh, of course, sure.
So
Kelly?
Greg just asked if we're all to do that or just the committee on the Bassano project. So on the 26th of January.
If that's the one they set a meeting up with us, right? Am I following the South Sloan one? I thought that was for everybody. Was it just related to Bassano project?
That's
No.
what I'm asking.
Yeah, no, that was initiated after the questions that were asked at the previous Alberta Health Services Regional Southern Region meeting, both with Bassano, the questions that we had raised, both Bassano and Newell. And so, go ahead.
I was part of that
Yes.
meeting, and I would like to
Yeah.
be part of this follow-up.
That was an open meeting for council, whoever could and wanted to be there.
So I will make a motion that all of council make it a function of council on January 26th.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of that, please indicate. That's carried. We'll have capacity to house the group, right? Because Bassano's coming too. Okay, good. Any other functions of council? What's the status of the CBC meetings? Because we will be having a meeting. Well, that's over the Zoom meeting. But it'll still be tonight. Yeah. Okay. But we'll deal with that. Yeah. How far are we here? To go back to, let's go back to Scandia, the presentation from the group from Scandia. We have 8.1.1 is basically gives us some options or suggested options. We do need to move on that. Yeah, go ahead, Matt, please.
Yeah, so I think that was a record for community turnout for an agenda item in my time at the county anyway. So it's nice to see the community spirit behind the project in my mind. So I approach these kind of projects, it's a new test of that recreation facility improvement funding policy that the community actually worked on drafting for the county. So looking at that policy, and you'll see the options I've got in front of council for consideration and the recommendation there. This type of project, when I look at it through the lens of the policy, the question really is this urgent and emergent? Is this an emergency situation that needs to be dealt with, or is this a major project, long-term, pre-planned? Port Scandia didn't have the benefit of seeing this policy for the last 20 years kind of a thing, right? So we're starting to hopefully advertise a direction for our community groups that council would like to see them go in terms of having funds on hand or having a plan for replacement of facilities. We're talking 10%, right? So if you fund it under the major project, long-term pre-planned, funded 50% local community, 50% county, you're on the hook for $342,000. If you've been convinced that this is an emergency situation and should be moved on right away, you could put it into that other category and fund it at that 60% standard, 414. So let's do what if. So what if council approves option one? Well, $342,000, the group's $72,000 short. I think we heard today that they're not in a position to fundraise that kind of money quickly. What other options are there? You could entertain a special tax for a recreation service in the area, so that's a one-time shot. You could look at a local improvement tax over several years to take that $72,000. When Tilly was here asking for some support for their curling club. At that point, we had reached out to legal to see, can we use a local improvement tax scheme to fund some of these facilities? And they came back and said, yes, the challenge will be defining the benefiting area. And so some of the feedback we've got from the group when we suggested, well, why not a local improvement tax? Well, first of all, Scandia proper is already on the hook for a pretty high annual local improvement tax. I want to say it's around $1,200 a year per lot. I could pull that up. And then if we look broader for the Bow Slope recreation area, which goes up, includes Bow City and Rainier, you've now included a couple other places where, the folks from Scandia said, well, we're not really comfortable putting the cost of our haul on those communities, kind of a thing. So there's some options. It's not always clean for addressing that other 10%, but interested to hear what council's view is and where we'd like to go with it. And then I guess the other consideration, one of the things I like about the local improvement tax idea or the special tax idea is it gives opportunity for public feedback. Local improvement tax, you have to develop a plan. It gets circulated to everybody who's going to be impacted. They have an opportunity to petition against it. So if they don't want that thing, you get some feedback from the community. Same idea with the special tax. The bylaw gets advertised. Folks have a chance to petition against it. You get some feedback that way.
I guess what I thought I heard is that they really hadn't started fundraising very much. What did they budget? $50,000 for it, but they wanted to know that this could actually go ahead. I think they were waiting to see our response. The 414 would finish it right now, but even the 342, that's a pretty big, is it Kathy that said that they had a list of businesses that was fairly extensive that they were going to go to for funding? Maybe they could raise the 72,000 pretty quick if they had a program to go. I don't know. That's up to them. We have to decide how much we're going to put in. But I thought there was some uncertainty, or the plan wasn't clear there. They're looking to see what we would do first. Right,
because local money from the county, we have put in 134. We can put in 200,000 total without a problem, but that won't. There's 60,000 we haven't spent won't get us very far, right? So you have to have a bank of money to start with to say, okay, we can go. So the community is interested; it wants to go ahead, but without the county putting a substantial amount in, you can't do much. So I mean, every year, we raised what 14,000 last year at our pancake auction. We put that towards a new floor. That's, we can easily raise some money, but how far we go is the question, right?
But you haven't had a major project like this either so far. They haven't started to raise money for a major project like this, have they?
For this particular project?
No, yeah.
No, we raised money to replace the roof in the early 2000s.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
For this big project, no, we've just been working on, we put it towards the hall, but not this part of it.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah. Which is I think the replacement is a different focus than just repair and that kind of thing. So maybe there's capacity there that is untapped too. I don't know. But I mean, that's not up to us anyway. I think we're just deciding what we want to do. Go ahead, Kelly.
I like the project if the community likes the project. And I want to feel that. I want to see that. We're just feeling it right now. We're hearing it from the members that it's very well utilized, it's very well supported, and it's something that the municipality wants. I want to be able to see that and quantify that. And by putting in previous upgrades, that is not monies going to the project. That is maintenance, or that is post office renovation. Those are all things from the past that they deemed needed and likely were. You can't put that towards the new project. So to me, the 134,000 is days gone by, and that is not skin in the game. We have a policy. The policy, granted, has only been in place for a year. but it's what the past council wanted, was skin in the game. And so I say we stick with our policy. I suggest that we can't waver on a policy that has not been put out to the public yet.
So you're suggesting recommendation as recommended, like a 50% contribution?
Supporting the project.
Yeah.
And just to explain, the project was the entire hall, right? We started 5 years ago. To explain that, we started 5 years to do the entire hall, and this is the last piece of it. So we would say that we wanted to upgrade everything. We did a new patio and a gazebo. We did the bathrooms, we did the bar, put new flooring in. Like, it's all part of it. This just got way more expensive than we figured, right? So that was our hall's vision. Just things didn't
Okay, we
follow,
didn't
right?
hear that today.
Well, it was okay, but I guess because I told them that was in the written part I gave earlier and they didn't go over all that, so I apologize. It was probably my error in how they should present it.
Okay, thanks, Neil, and then Ellen.
Yeah, the project is good, but just the way Matt described, the boundaries of the recreation area include Rainier, Bow City. And don't we need some population numbers and some usage numbers? I got some usage numbers from a person on one of the boards, and it's one of the larger halls, and it was only 22 days last year, which was a COVID year. But if you go through the county, I think we're tied to maybe 8 or 9 of these community halls, and divide that by 7,000 people, 7,500 people. That's a hall for not very many people in a lot of places. Like, if we could, I'd rather support a $2 million hall with Rainier and Bow City and Scandia tied together than a $400,000 hall there and another one in Rainier and another one in Bow City and one out of Craig's Place. The list is just going to go on and on. They're wonderful little facilities, but maybe it's time to widen the community a little bit.
They're still mad about the school being moved to Rainier, you know. That was a lot of years ago.
Okay, anyone have direction for us? We need to we don't want to sit here all afternoon, Holly, and then.
I just think, regardless of what the decision is here, that there needs to be a change to that policy to define urgent, because that really is what the whole point is here, is what is urgent. The policy does not speak to a definition, right? So we read that and we went, okay, this floor is like, I feel like I'm gonna fall through that one corner. It's urgent. So, but Lane says, no, that's not how it was meant. But that's not in the policy, right? So we read the policy and say, yeah, it's urgent. So then without a definition, that is part of the issue. There's nothing to fall back on for council.
Okay, Ellen, sorry, Ellen, I missed you there before.
It's okay. But short of either a fire or a tornado, which would be an emergency, it's a structural failure. So to me, that is urgent. Like, I could see on the floor, it's giving out. You know, I could see it on the photos. So I lean towards an urgent matter.
Okay, Lynette, and then Dan.
Just back to the point that I had asked them when they were here, like, if you don't have an engineer to go in and say how urgent it actually is, how is that for us to decide, or even for them to decide? Like, that floor might be fine for another 10 years, really. Like, yeah, okay, it's squishy, but maybe the integrity is maybe still there. So the whole urgent kind of needs to be defined by someone who's qualified, is my opinion.
Thank you. Dan?
And yeah, I'm in line with what you're saying. Urgent emergency, tornado, fire, major piece of equipment breaks down, some structural rot that happens over time. That you can see that coming. And it was actually said in the presentation that's been going on for years. So if it's taken that long, I don't know if that's an emergency. You can see it coming. You can make plans for it. I don't think this meets the definition of urgent or emergency for me. But again, it'd be nice to hear a professional's point of view on it.
Greg, and then Dan.
I have to agree with Dan. I think that, yeah, believe it or not, let's write it down. It's because of the lasagna. I do agree that these are long, this problem with the hall has been happening for many, many years. Rot doesn't happen and a leaky roof doesn't happen overnight. So all of a sudden it being an emergency is it's not sudden and accidental. Using an insurance term, it's not sudden and it's not accidental. It happens over time. So this isn't an insurable risk. This is something that is uninsurable also. That doesn't come to me as being an emergency. Also, I do agree with Holly in that that's two that I'm agreeing with. I'm agreeing with Holly in that we do need boundaries as a emergency. We can, or I can argue that the pathway out to Lake New Resort is an emergency. That's waiting for an accident to happen. No, I'm serious. But I'm not arguing that. I'm not saying that. I'm not arguing it on this basis. I'm just saying that that could also be construed under this definition. So that definition of the emergency should be cleared out a little bit better.
Okay, Neil?
Yeah, I think if it was my own building, I'd probably rip it down, put a new one up. I mean, it's time. But what I'm after is some comparisons, like how much the Hall of Gem is beautiful. How much did Gem get? How much did Tilly get? So, and we can, Castles, how much did they get for a seldom used hall? And we could apply the same thing to that area once we get the boundaries and.
In the perfect world.
Scandia is the test case. That's the problem, because Scandia is the first one.
Yeah, so I would say you're at a period where you're now looking forward. So you're not looking in the rearview mirror at what happened in Castles, what happened anywhere else. This policy is future focused, and hopefully the signals that get sent when council approves or doesn't approve funding here is it sets a tone for all the other community groups that they kind of know what they're expecting, right? Okay, if we want to preserve this curling rink, this community hall, this tennis court in our location, we're going to have to come up with 50%. And there's numerous ways we can do it. Some communities are really good at fundraising. They've got healthy businesses. Other places, not so much. Like Scandia really doesn't have a commercial presence, right? Like you've got ISL, some honey producers, you got the farms, but there isn't the same, you don't have a CNRL shop there that they can tap into. So, we want to keep things equitable. It gets really tricky to do the calculus on what's equitable. I think one of the things I like coming out of this updated municipal development plan is identifying certain of our hamlets as growth hamlets. So we want to see like they've got a chance for growing. I almost think the hall board's going a little too small with it. It's like, go bigger. Can you get a library in there? Can you get a basketball court? Heck, like let's do something that attracts. Can we put a couple of pool tables in there, foosball? Like, let's make it a community center, and then we bump the usage up. Because I think to Neil's question about usage and statistics, I want to see all those things too. But I can guarantee you're not going to build a hall based on those statistics. You'll say, oh, that's way too expensive. And there might need to be some downsizing down the road. Maybe not every hall and every curling club gets replaced. We want to be thoughtful about it. But man, people need to have something useful in their community, access to it, to a quality of life, right?
I think looking back, 50% support from the county. I mean, one of their questions was, is the county supporting this? Well, the 50% option, yeah, we're supporting it big time. That's big support, I think. I think the thing would go if that was the message, because it's not going to happen by the end of the winter. And there is some time for them to find other funding sources. And in spite of the fact that CNRL doesn't, or Torkson might not have an office there, they have lots of activity in the area, and all of those options are still open to any community, as is, I'm thinking, GEM's had similar situations where the companies doing business out there support them. So I think whether we're deciding 50 or 60%, I think the precedent of where we go forward, because this is about looking forward, and it is difficult to define what urgent is, and urgent is what urgent is. But at this, a 50% contribution from the county for a public use facility that the community wants is pretty significant. And I think that's one of the criteria. We need to know that the community wants it. Sounds like this community does. So that helps, but I don't know that I'm really in favor of going for the 60% at this point. Dan.
Yeah, this is a fairly new policy, and we are talking about looking forward. So going forward with this policy, if we really don't like that policy, that's something we review down the road, or we say no to this, review the policy, and then bring it back, which I don't think is fair. So we have a policy, and it outlines pretty well what we do. The issue is urgent. That's the only thing we really have to decide on. If we declare this as urgent, we've set the precedent for everybody else down the road. It's like, hey, we got a little problem. Let's put it off. Let's put it off. Now it's urgent because now it's a problem, rather than doing it the right way. I don't believe this is urgent. So I think we should fund it for the 50% as per policy. And I'll make that as a motion that we approve this under option 1. Ha! Beat you to it.
Okay. Kelly and then Neil.
I just wanted to applaud you for making the motion. And I want to point out that this is a huge improvement for our community organizations, that the county is willing to commit up to 50% of a project. We've never had this in the past. I know, don't look back, but historically Castles Hall was built on their own backs. They came to us for minor inside objects at the end of the build. That was built by grant money and community fundraising. The Bassano swimming pool, going back even further, that was inside items that were put in later, and the community fundraised for that. We even received grants only if we came to a certain dollar value. The Les Lunseth, or the Lunseth grant. That was, you get to a certain value, we will match that value.
Cascade, yeah.
Cascade, thank you.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm in favor of this motion. Thanks, Dan.
And then Neil. Or Neil first, and then Greg, sorry.
So if the community funds 50%, we put in 50%, I'm okay with that. Do we collect taxes from that rec area for that, or it's like bake sales or whatever, collect $340,000? It's a long haul. Like they'll really want it if they pull it off.
Yeah, so I think if council approves the motion that's on the table, there's that gap, right? That $72,000 gap. Community will take that back, and administration will work with them to hash out some numbers. Do you want to entertain a special tax, a local improvement tax? What do different scenarios look like? The fundraising option, right?
What if this thing comes in at, like, that's not a very big number. What if it comes in at $800,000, and it very well might?
I imagine they'll be back at the table saying, here's the reality. Because really, I think it's important to calibrate right now that these are estimates, right? Like they're loose numbers. For the community group, getting a commitment from the county helps them move the project to the next stage, saying, hey, we've got real dollars on the table here. What are we going to do to capitalize on it?
Do we cap this though, like at $800,000, $750 million? I know the motion, but what if they come back next year, this whole thing goes ahead, they get their hall built, half built, and it comes in at $900,000? what are we gonna do?
Yeah, you'll make that decision when they come back and present, you know, we've got engineered design, we've got a bid, yeah. Currently, the motion is up to 342,000, whatever it is in the motion. So it's capped right now.
Thanks, Arno. Yeah, remember the motion does say up to 342,000, okay? Up to 342,000. So they, as far as I can see, I don't know if they've asked for approval of any grants or done any grant work. There may be some grants out there from the Alberta government and from the federal government that may come into play. Yeah. And remember, those kick in, it's up to 342,000. So those grants aren't necessarily have to be part of what the community involvement is. So this is pretty loose, but it's not over 342, right?
I was supposed to mention, they forgot to say that the letter from Danielle Smith is sitting on her desk in Edmonton, approval for the grant, the CFIP we're applying for, that she's supporting it, which they wanted me to mention that because they forgot.
How big is it?
For the grant's 125,000.
125.
CFAP.
CFAP, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We've got a motion on the floor.
It's very generous.
Yeah, yeah. Any further questions? Ready for the question? All in favor of the motion, please indicate.
Why aren't you voting?
Opposed?
Okay.
Just a second. Are you opposed? All in favor of the motion? In favor of the motion? Opposed? Thank you. That's carried. That's, I would agree that the policy that we have is a generous one. It wasn't there before.
Oh, and it's supportive. It's early
Okay.
support. There's lots of projects. now.
Reports. Let's go to committee reports.
That's great. Huge, actually. Imagine if you had 300,000 dollars.
Item number 12. We have 5 reports printed for us, presented. Any questions about those reports? Any comments that need to be added to them from the presenters? No? We're good? Greg, you have a Joint Services Committee report.
Okay, so Joint Services met and we had a couple presenters. One was Brent Schroeder from the EID. Things are progressing along with, Jim Bazzano area, the Snake Lake project and the EID net. The big thing with what he had mentioned with the Snake Lake project and some of the other projects is that they're having a really hard time getting PVC pipe. It's what's slowing everything down across the board with respect to the EID. So it seems like all the irrigation districts are now putting in requests for PVC pipe, and there just isn't enough supply out there, enough people making them. So that's one of the things that's holding things down as far as the EID goes. Another one was presentation by Selena McLean Moore, Alberta Jobs, Economy and Innovation. That was a really interesting presentation in that they work pretty closely with our economic development people, and it sounds like there's major growth that's just on the cusp of happening here in our area. And so they're really excited about that. The problem is people. There's not enough people, capacity of people, labor force. And yeah, no brainer. That is across the board. But that is basically what's holding down our area right now. Another thing is housing, and we all knew about that too. But the problem is that there isn't the builders out there to build. And it did come up, and I made the point that, you know, the new home warranty program really took out a ton of local builders. There's no local house builders anymore. There's commercial builders, but they're not subject to the new home warranty. New home warranty is a major stall in that it has prevented new builders or local builders to be able to make it. Unless you're building 100 houses a year, builders can't afford to be part of that new home building warranty plan. That's a mouthful. And so I asked her to come to us with some statistics of the new home warranty, type of claims that have been put in. It originally started because of the large builders in the large communities such as Calgary and Edmonton, building these houses, cookie cutter houses so quickly, pouring cement in the middle of dead winter like it is now, and not setting up properly and foundations going south. So that was the main reason for it. And I was against it right from the hop as an insurer. And I don't know, I just need to see where the numbers are with that, because it's really hampering our building. So let's see what else happened with that. Now, there was some discussion on PEP. I guess the Alberta government is increasing its funding for the 2023 cycle from 50,000 to 125,000. So that's kind of a big deal. That's basically support from the Alberta government in our economic future. So yeah, go ahead.
PEP has to have the plans, how we're going to tie that in by mid-January, or is it beginning of February? So it's a pretty quick turnaround to get that done. So PEP's working on that part right now.
Okay, thank you. And that's, yeah, it sounds like it's something that that will be good for our area for sure. That's it as far as joint services.
Sorry, question on the new home warranty. That might be a future resolution for Foothills Little Bow, because I know we're not the only county that's being hurt by it. So once we get those numbers, or do you know how long it'll take to get those numbers?
That's on the province's radar too.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right, not to worry
But
then.
I mean, no reason not to be vigilant on it, but I think it's a good.
I think we're short of time with resolutions needing to be in tomorrow. So.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Greg. Any other questions? That's good. Bazzano Health Foundation, 55 plus summer games. Greg, did you put that down here? Okay, Katie, let's take that right away.
So the 55 plus games committee met last night. Everything's progressing. We are in the process of hiring an event coordinator. It is a paid position. It's paying $25 an hour. So if you know of anybody that may be interested in a short-term position like that, we do have a couple qualified applicants, but the more the merrier as far as that goes. And there's also a big call for volunteers, whether it's for heading up some of the major things that need to be done, like transportation, food, those type of things, but even just event volunteers. So if you're so inclined, or you know anybody that would be interested in August to volunteer for the games, it's going to bring a huge amount of people to the area. I don't know the exact number. And it's province-wide, so this is a kind of a big deal. So if we could get all of our different municipalities within the area and people on board with this, it'd be great.
Good. Thanks, Greg. Question anywhere? No? Okay, Bassano Health Foundation. Kelly, did you? Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to share with you, I do some volunteer work as a trustee on the Bassano Health Foundation, and our one doctor out of 3 has begun practice November 29th, and we're happy to have him. He's located in a rental situation until the end of April. I want to let all of you know that we're very short of housing in Bassano and area. And so we are looking to support our doctor in finding alternative housing come the end of April. So if anybody hears of or knows of a builder, a contractor who wants to invest in Bassano, we would love to have a conversation. The town is interested, able to invest some land possibly for a build. But a rental situation is ideally what we're looking for. The 0.5 doctor is under assessment right now, and she will likely conclude that, all things good, mid-February. And then she'll be able to come out, and she'll also be looking for a place to live. And I understand she's interested in buying. So that is something to keep on our radar as well. The other doctor is still waiting assessment placement. So he's going to be down the road a ways yet. So we are coming along. It's been a long 9 months without full doctor coverage in our area, but thankfully the doctors in Brooks have covered our needs and supported the Bassano area very nicely over the past 9 months and probably going forward as well. So just a shout out. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Any questions? Seeing none. Matt, you got a call regarding CDC South. We've had some speculation about what might be coming there, and I think, go ahead, I think it's good news.
Yeah, so just to bring council up to speed, received a phone call out of the minister's office yesterday looking to set up a meeting for the week of January 9th or 16th with our committee who submitted a proposal which basically pitched, let's spin up a not-for-profit and hire a general manager, events coordinator, and field staff, and try to put that center to good use. So it's piqued their interest. They're open to conversations, and we're gonna keep conversing in January. So a positive development on that front.
Good, thank you. Landfill to Sewa. Neil, is that yours?
I guess so. Sewa, you heard it all from Ray Jessica at the supper. Nothing much has changed. Do you have some more information on the landfill controversy?
Oh, no controversy, but yeah, we'll have a conversation about some of the proposed changes that they're looking at making there with instituting a commercial rate and what have you.
In camera, right? Yeah. Okay. Anything else? I think that's got our committee reports covered then. Item 13, agriculture education. Holly.
I just want to speak briefly on ag education. If you remember quite a while ago, Todd and I were talking about doing a tour for some of the teachers who were interested in explaining more about ag. And it kind of came up this past week. My son in grade 10 came home really angry about a climate change video they had watched at school. And so I watched the video and talked to teachers. They thought it was really pro-ag because it liked ag, but it said in the video that animals who are in feedlot because of grain-fed beef are sick, and they make the people who eat them sick. So I've talked to the principal about, what about the kids who work at JBS and you're hearing this message, their parents are making people sick. My son was extremely upset. And the teacher was not that they were doing anything intentionally, they just don't know, right? They don't know anything about ag. I said, can you, how would it be on the other side? But we don't have time to show the other side. We'll try harder for next year. So just it really, and I mean, ABP is going to talk to them now, and Blaine talked to Fabioli, Neil, Fattle, you know what I mean, from JBS. one of the guys there. So JBS is going to get involved in this too, I think, because they aren't very happy. I really think it speaks to the fact that as a county, since I said to both principal, like this is our biggest industry and you have to support it. So I think that ag education is really important. That's just want to bring that up, that we need to really look at ag education for everyone.
Okay. Good point. Thank you. Lynette, Ms. Scott, please.
Along the same line, would this council be interested in a tour of JBS? Because Al Fernell was asking at the Christmas party, he could facilitate if that's what we would like.
I think we should take them up on that. That's a good. Yeah. You probably have to, though. Not for this reason. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can't speak highly enough of Al Fernell and his tour. Some staff members went earlier in the spring, and it's just an incredible operation that we have in the county, and they do more than just put beef on the table. Like JBS is a good corporate citizen. They invest in their people. They've got one of the lowest turnover rates in the industry. I think it's a real good news story out of an industry that sometimes gets painted poorly.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I would suggest, actually, I had arranged, we had talked about the assistant or the deputy assistant manager. I had a visit with him in the office here one day, and he has a deck of slides that he was going to bring in here, which he could, but I think we should do it out there. Let's just allow for enough time, get him to include that, like, because he was going to come in here and he's welcome to do that. But if we can do it all at the same time, it's an impressive message of what JBS is doing for their community and their workers. It's a great opportunity in our area, I would say, as an employer. Neil? Yeah.
Yeah, when you put everything into perspective, they do as much business out there in a day as the whole rest of the town does in a year. It's absolutely amazing.
100 loads of cattle a day. Yeah. We're down to going in camera. Information items are there. Any questions about those? I think they're self-explanatory, or we can see them. Motion to go in camera. Lynette, please. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you.